this is BioPhoenix here, and today we're going back to the top 30 favorite games on each console, the very hard list to do, and today we're doing the PC Engine / TurboGrafx 16. And for this one, I will also be including the CD add-on as well. So just like a lot of people, this is a console that I did not grow up with. In fact, I never even heard of it, and it wasn't until the Wii's Virtual Console when a couple TurboGrafx 16 games were released on there, and that was how I first heard about it. And of course, I looked up a bunch of things on it, and I was very fascinated with it. And after many years of playing through a bunch of random games on it, I can definitely say I really grew to appreciate this console quite a lot. But we got 30 games to talk about here, and as always, don't get too crazy about the order here, because just because I rank a game higher than another one doesn't mean I think it's automatically better than everything that came before it. Just think of this as a giant recommendation list. So, with that said, let's begin the list. So at number 30, we have is Splatterhouse. Yeah, we're starting off with this badass game. Now, I do feel like this is a pretty well-known game on the system, given how violent and crazy the game is. And it is kind of creepy and eerie too. I can only imagine what I would have thought of this if I saw this game as a kid. But yeah, the game is just really awesome and badass looking, which I feel like is the biggest appeal to the game. But is the game fun? Well, given that I put in this top 30 list, yeah, I think it's a fun game. It definitely is very hard though. But no matter how many times I've died while playing this game, I still go back to it, and I still have fun. And there are times where I actually do get a lot better at the game. There was actually one time I think I almost did beat the game, but then around it continues, and I had to restart from the very beginning. But it is a very satisfying game. In fact, I actually do find that killing the enemies in this game does feel very satisfying when you see them splat against the wall. Very fun. And for number 29, we have is Summer Assault. Now this is a game that I reviewed on the channel many years ago, but given that it has been a long time and it's not a game that I talk about that often, I can say that yeah, this is a game I still have fun with, and it is a very unique and quirky game from Atlas of all people. And it is a run and gun where you get to play as a slinky with machine guns. Like, how crazy is that? And all the bosses are based after these zodiac signs, which is kinda interesting. But yeah, this is one of those games that the very first time you play it, you're gonna be like, what the hell is this? Like, this is some weird shit going on. But once you do understand the flow of the gameplay and how it works, I actually do find it to be pretty enjoyable, but it does take time to get used to. And the only thing I don't like is a time limit, but outside of that though, I did find it to be a pretty cool and weird game that I actually do kinda like more than I thought I would. And I'm still surprised that a game like this actually made it to North America back in the day. Alright, and as for number 28, we have Neotopia. Now, this is a game I actually just beat in 2023 recently, so I did talk a lot about the game there, so I probably won't talk too much about it here, but yeah, it is an obvious Zelda clone, and it's not a bad one either, even though the story is just kinda whatever, but I did like the different overworlds you get to explore, and I also did like the music a lot too. But yeah, it's a pretty decent one. I wouldn't say it's amazing, and I definitely don't think it's better than Zelda itself, but I did think it was a pretty cool game for the time it came out. And as for number 27, we have is Exile 2 on the CD add-on. Believe it or not, this is actually one of the first few games I actually managed to beat this year. So it's gonna be a while before I talk about it again for the games I beat in 2024, but, well, I guess now you know that's one of them. So yes, I actually did play both of the Exile games, and here's what I have to say about them, is that the first one, I think, has a much more cooler story to it, but the second one, I think, has better gameplay and does have better controls. So as you can see, these games are side-scrolling action RPGs, but they also do have some top-down parts for town exploration, but when you get to an actual level, then it goes to side-scrolling. But yes, you can also use other different characters too in your party, which is also pretty interesting and does have some different gameplay styles to mess with. And just some other interesting things I have to mention is that the game in Japan was considered to be very controversial because there's actually a lot of drug use within the game, because all the healing items in this game, yeah, they're actually supposed to be related to drug. Of course, in the English version, they changed the names, but it's pretty obvious you can tell that which one's supposed to be cocaine and which one is supposed to be heroin. But yeah, it's still kind of fucked up that this is a game that you use drugs for healing items. Also, the other thing I have to mention too is that the North American version of this game has a really bad glitch that can prevent you from beating the game, but the good news is that Someone made a ROM hack that fixes that issue, so that's not a problem anymore. And yes, I do recommend that version if you do plan on playing this game, because that was never a problem in the Japanese version, so I'd say that's a pretty fair game. But yeah, outside of that one issue there, which like I said, there is a workaround for it, the only other thing I should mention is that your character does get way too close to the screen, and sometimes it's hard to tell like what enemies are gonna pop up at you. But outside of these things, though, it is a pretty decent game that it is a very fascinating action RPG that doesn't really get talked about too much. And I did personally enjoy my playthrough of the game. And as for number 26, we have is Kazakiri Ninja Action. Now this is another game I also beat in 2023, so yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about it here as I talked about it in that video recently, but yeah. It's a side-scrolling action beat-em-up with a ninja, and it is a pretty fun game. I did enjoy my time with it, but man, this game is like way too short. I ended up beating it in one sitting without even realizing it. So if you want a pretty easy to pick up and play game that you can beat really quickly, then yeah, this is a good one for that. And as for number 25, we have is Final Zone 2. Now this is a game that I think most people know about because of the shitty box art, and yeah, we definitely got the worst one out of that deal, but despite that though, what really counts is the gameplay, and well, yeah, I think the gameplay is pretty fun here, but I definitely will say, this is another one that's also really hard as shit. But also, like I said about Splatterhouse, it's one of those games that, even though it is hard and you will get your ass kicked a lot, I still occasionally go back to it, and sometimes when I do better than what I used to, it is very satisfying. But yeah, it's a pretty fun top-down shooter, kind of similar to games like Guerrilla Warfare or Ikari Warriors, but, well, I don't think this game is as good as Guerrilla Warfare, but I definitely like it better than the NES Ikari Warriors. But the two highlights I do gotta mention with this game is that the voice acting is just so hilariously bad, it's funny. And then also the music in this game is not only really freaking awesome, but it's also really weird and random, but also still manages to be awesome somehow. Yeah, there's one song in particular in this game that almost sounds like something out of Sonic R, and honestly, I kinda love it. So yeah, like I said, Final Zone 2, it is a pretty cool game that I do like, but it is very, very tough. And as for number 24, we have is Ninja Spirit. Yeah, speaking of hard games, yeah, this is another one that doesn't fuck around. But as I keep saying, it's one of those hard games that I like to go back to, and I still have fun with it, and a lot of people do compare this game a lot to Ninja Gaiden because, well, you know, they're both ninjas. But I'd say that the level design in this game doesn't really feel that Ninja Gaiden-like to me. I'd say it kind of feels more like Legend of Kage, but if it happened to have a couple power-ups from a Ninja Gaiden game, like the whole shadow clones that follow you around, that one definitely seems very much like Ninja Gaiden 2. But yeah, I'd say it's a very different feeling type of ninja game than Ninja Gaiden, but it's still a pretty good one that I do like quite a bit. And as for number 23, we have is Blazing Lasers. And yes, this is one of those games that every time I see the name, I can't help but think of Dr. Evil. Ah yes, the very first shoot 'em up we're going to be talking about here, and it certainly won't be the last, as I do have quite a lot on this list, but don't worry, I didn't fill it up with just that. So if I remember correctly, I think this might have been the first shoot 'em up I ever played. It was either this one, or it was the game Dead Moon. I can't remember which one I played first, but I can definitely say that this one definitely left a bigger impression on me. But yeah, it has very nice graphics and sound, even for a very early game on the system. And it's also not stupidly hard either. Of course, I wouldn't say the game is easy, but compared to many other shoot 'em ups I've played, I wouldn't say it's a hard one. But yeah, I know I'm going to be repeating a lot of what I'm about to say with a lot of these upcoming shoot 'em ups, but yes, it's a very fun, easy to pick up and play game that is just a hell of a good time, even if I'm not great at them. And as for number 22, we have is Crater Maze. Now this is a game that I reviewed years ago on my channel, and I can say that even after playing it after so long, man, this game is actually really damn fun. I kind of forgot how fun this game was. But before we get into that, I do have to mention that this game is actually based after an anime series called Doraemon, the Blue Cat, that somehow has more episodes than One Piece. Well, at least that's a Japanese version, that is, because in the English version, they took out all the cat stuff out, and now your guy's just some blue spaceman guy. But yeah, anyways, though, yeah, this game is actually really fun. It's kind of like Pac-Man, where you're in a maze trying to avoid enemies and get all the items and head for the exit, but you can actually fight back the enemies by digging up holes and then digging them up. And you can get a lot of power-ups and make your digging a lot better, and it actually makes the game very addicting and fun. Yeah, I'd say that's the best way I can sum up this game, is that it's very addicting. I can say that when I was getting gameplay footage for this game, I didn't want to put the controller down. And as for number 21, we have is Shockman 3. Now yes, this is a Japan-only game, and it has a really long Japanese name, so I'm not gonna say all of that, but yes, this is the third game in the Shockman series. There was a Shockman 1 that we did get over here, but the rest of them we didn't get. But out of the 3 games that were released on the PC Engine, I would say this one is my favorite one. Has a really great soundtrack, also the game's not stupidly hard, and the game's controls are pretty good too, though I do find them to be a bit basic, but sometimes being basic isn't the worst thing ever. I mean, it does work for this type of game, I think. And I also like how the levels transition to the next level. I do find the way how they look is kinda cool. And as for number 20, we have is Bonk's Revenge. Yeah, this is going to be my favorite Bonk game on the TurboGrafx out of the 3. Now I think all 3 games in the Bonk series are pretty consistent and pretty good, but I would say that Bonk's Revenge is the one that I've gone back to the most, and I would say that one is probably my favorite. Yeah, it's one of those action platformers. It's just really fun to just like bash your head against the enemies and you bounce off of them. When you get a whole bounce flow going on, it's surprisingly really fun. I really like the graphical style in the game, very bright and colorful. The music is very upbeat and catchy. And the game's humor is pretty amusing too. I do kind of like it. So yeah, it's one of those amusing caveman platformer games. And yeah, there was a lot of caveman games that came out around this time, but I'd say that Bonk is definitely one of the better ones, I'd say. And as for number 19, we have is Dynastic Hero. Or in Japan, the game is called Wonder Boy 5 Monster World 3. Yeah, what a title that is. So, just for the sake of sanity, we're just gonna call it the Dynastic Hero. But yes, this is actually a Wonder Boy game that just got disguised as something else. In fact, the guy that you're playing as kinda looks like a Kamen Rider character. So yes, if you're familiar with the Wonder Boy games in the Monster World series, then yes, this is very much like those, a side-scrolling action platformer with RPG elements where you buy items to upgrade your character, and you just explore around the map. Yeah, it's a really fun game, and I really like using the different weapons you can acquire through the game. I really like using the spear weapon a lot. And the game is very nice, bright, and colorful, and the music is pretty good. It does have some obnoxiously loud songs here and there, but it does have some nice tracks that are good. But yeah, from some of the Wonder Boy games that I have played though, I would say this one is one of my favorite ones. I wouldn't say I put it on the same level as Monster World 4 on the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, but you know, I still think this is a very good one in the series. And as for number 18, we have is Zoc 3. Now you're probably wondering, Zoc? Like how do you spell that? It's like X-A-K. What, you thought it started with a Z? Of course not. So as you might guess here, yes, this is one of those games that is an Ys clone, but instead of having a red-haired Adol, he's blue-haired Laduk. Yeah, Laduk. Yeah, isn't that a wonderful name? So yeah, this is a series I've always wanted to try and get more into, and I can say that Zoc 3 is the one I put the most time into, and it was pretty enjoyable from what I played. So it's pretty fun to run around and kill things, and to jump over things, and yes, you can actually jump in this game. And there's also quite a bit of blood and gore in this game too, which kind of surprised me. Also, because this is the third game in the series, your character actually starts off at level 50. But no, you don't get hit by something that absorbs your power. No, you actually start off at level 50 and you just get stronger from there. So even level 50 at this game is considered like level 1, kinda. And the story seemed pretty interesting too from what I played. So yeah, I can definitely say that it is a pretty decent Ys clone. Now, I wouldn't say it's better than the Ys games, but if you played all those and you want something that's kinda similar, then I would say these ones are not that bad. Though granted, the PC Engine CD version of 3 is the only one that's been translated to English, mind you, but I believe the first 2 have been translated to English on the MSX. And as for number 17, we have is Dungeon Explorer. Yeah, this is another game that also got the really bad treatment of having a shitty box art, but thankfully, the game is much better than that. So to sum it up easily, is that this game is kind of like Gauntlet if it had more RPG elements and also had some exploration. And yeah, it's actually a very fun game that is also very addicting as well. In fact, back when I used to own a TurboGrafx 16, this is one of the few games I actually had, and yes, I played it quite a lot. Very much like the classic Gauntlet games, it is very addicting, and thankfully, there's no food or hunger meter you gotta worry about, thank God. And as for number 16, we have is Sylphia. So this is a shoot 'em up where you get to play as a fairy and you collect different power-ups that are represented by the different elements. And yeah, this one I find to be a really good one that never really gets talked about that much. I find it to be very fun, I really like the graphics a lot, has a really cool style to it, and the music I find to be pretty nice too. It's not super hyperactive and crazy, but it is a pretty nice OST. And the game is not insanely difficult either, although there is a few parts in it that were kinda hard, but I do find it to be pretty forgiving, and thankfully you don't die in one hit in it. But yeah, just like a lot of other shoot-em-ups that are on this list, I don't want to repeat everything all over again, but yeah, I find this to be a very fun one with a very different fantasy-type setting. And at number 15, we have is Download. Yeah, have you ever downloaded the game Download? Well, I sure have, and I can tell you that it's a very fun, fast-paced shoot-em-up. And this one is also pretty hard, but thankfully with this one, you also do get a decent amount of hit points. And also the parallax scrolling on this one looks really cool looking, and this isn't a CD game, no, this one's actually a HuCard game, and it looks really damn good. But probably the one thing about this game that always stands out to me the most, and it's like the most hilariously weird thing ever, is that the game over screen in this game actually has swear words in it. Yeah, it says, "I cannot fuck this up." Yeah, I'm not making this up. This literally is the game over screen. Or at least one of many. There's another one that also says the word shit in it as well. Yeah, that's definitely the one thing that stands out to me the most. But yeah, it is a very good one that is fun, fast-paced, has some pretty cool music, and like I said, the graphics are very impressive. And at number 14, we have is Last Alert. This game is similar to Final Zone for two things. One, they both have some hilariously bad English voice acting, and they're both top-down shooters where you run around and shoot the shit out of everything. But this one, I actually like a lot better. And even though this one still manages to be kinda tough at times, I do find it to be way easier than Final Zone. Also, this game definitely feels more like something like a Rambo or even a Commando game, but, you know, unofficial versions at least. But yeah, I find it to be a very fun one. Has a lot of cool weapons to mess around with, lots of cool upgrades, and the game has a fair amount of blood and violence in it as well. It really just goes to show you that the people at NEC, they were definitely not like Nintendo at all. And as for number 13, we have is Airzonk. Now, I know this is technically a part of the Bonk series, though it's more like a spin-off, but the gameplay of this one is so different than the other ones that I figured I might as well include it, because, well, it's a really damn good shoot-'em-up. Really nice, bright, colorful graphics that are really crazy looking. Yeah, this is definitely one of the crazier, weird shoot-'em-ups on the system, that it's actually really good. Because whenever people think of weird, crazy shoot-'em-ups on the system, people think of Toilet Kids, which, yeah, that's an actual thing, but unlike that game though, I find this one is actually really fun. And for number 12, we have is Parodius Daw. Yet another really crazy over-the-top shoot-'em-up like Airzonk, which is probably the reason why I put these two together. So yeah, I'm sure you guys might know something about Parodius, that it's basically a parody version of Gradius, where everything is all crazy and over-the-top and weird. And the upgrading system works exactly like Gradius, so I don't really need to cover all that. And also, just like Gradius, this game is pretty damn hard. At least for me, I can never get far into this game. But every time I play it, though, I do enjoy it just because everything is just so hilariously weird to me. And of course, being able to play as a flying penguin in space is just great. And for number 11, we have is Legend of Valkyrie. This is an arcade game that I've always really liked, and I have to say, the PC Engine version of the game is actually really good. So how I first discovered this game was quite amusing, and I'm sure I'm probably not the only one, was that in the game Soul Calibur 2, characters have many different outfits, and some of them are references to other games. In fact, one of them was a reference to this game, and it belonged to the character Cassandra. So after looking into it, I thought that the game looked really cool, but of course, at the time, I had no idea about what arcade emulation was. So it was always one of those games that I always wanted to play, but never really knew how, and of course eventually I did play it, and well, yeah, I ended up actually really liking it. So as you can tell, it is a top-down view looking game that looks like Zelda, but it really doesn't play like Zelda, because it's more of a linear and arcadey type feel to it. Though sure, you can go into towns, you can buy items and such, which is really cool for a game like this, but yeah, even a game in this sort of style inspired many other games too. For an example, like the game Star Princess on the Sharp 68000, which I think is an awesome game. But as for this game itself though, yeah, I've always really enjoyed it. I always really like the way it looks, very bright, colorful, has some really funny animations whenever you get hit by certain things, and the music is very nice and catchy. In a way, I kinda wish that Namco would do more with this series, because all they ever really seem to do is just mention some cameos or put the character within Project Cross Zone. But I think it would be nice if we got a whole new game in this sort of style, but with way more things going on, or even a 3D game. I think that would be really cool. And as for number 10, we have is Legendary Axe. It's the game where you can ask people questions. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that again. But anyways, though, yes. So, this is an action platformer where you get to play as some caveman, barbarian-looking guy, and yeah, obviously, you use a legendary axe. Well, at least I assume it's legendary, but yes, this is another action platformer on the system that I've always really liked. It sort of reminds me of the game Rastan on the Sega Master System, but I think I like this one a bit better, and also just like that game, it is pretty tough. And also some of the music in this game always gets stuck in my head, especially that first stage theme and that one cave level. And for what I remember playing of the second Legendary Axe game, I remember it not being as memorable. Like, I remember the music not being as memorable, and like I said, the gameplay itself is like kind of more or less the same, but doesn't really make a lot of improvements from what I remember. I could be totally wrong, because it has been a while since I played that one, where I tend to mostly go back to the first game, because, well, it's one of those games that even though how many times I've died in it, I still like going back to it. And for number 9, we have is Psychic Storm. Yet another very good shoot 'em up, and this is one I actually never played until a couple years ago. And I have to say, this is a very impressive one for that. Not only are the graphics really nice, but the one gimmick of this game is that you can actually have the ability to transform into an insect, and you do that for a short period of time, and it's actually very, very fun. And the game is pretty accessible and not too bullshit hard for a shoot 'em up too, so if you're not great at them, I think this one is actually worth a try, because that monster transformation thing definitely makes things a lot easier. And as for number 8, we have is Soldier Blade. Yet another badass shoot 'em up that I really enjoy a lot. The one thing that sticks out about this game is that it has a pretty interesting weapon system, where you can hold up to 3 different power-ups of different kinds, and if you sacrifice one of them, depending what it is, you can actually get additional bombs and super moves. So it adds a lot of strategy to the game that I actually really like a lot, and as I said before, it's not a crazy difficult game either, and of course, all the looks and the sounds, yep, all top-notch. So yeah, I know, I'm starting to run out of things to say about all these different shoot 'em ups. I'm trying, okay? But trust me, this is a very good one. And as for number 7, we have is Cotton. Yeah, I know it's another shoot 'em up, but as again, it's one that I really love a lot, but at least this one looks way different for that. You're not playing as a spaceship, instead, you're playing as a witch. Not only do you have your standard straight shots, but you also do have a shot where you drop down on the ground, which is good for enemies that stick on the ground. And the music in this game is absolutely amazing. It's actually one of my all-time favorite PC Engine CD OSTs. And one thing that really surprises me is the fact that this series managed to make a comeback, because they did make a couple more recent additions, like there's Cotton Reboot, Cotton Guardian Force, and Cotton 16-bit Tribute, so yeah, it definitely has gotten some love lately, and I'm glad, because I always thought this series would have been, like, dead in the water for years. But anyways though, this version on the PC Engine CD is a damn good version that is well worth playing. And as for number 6, we have is Faucet Arbor, and this is a game that I reviewed many years ago, and yeah, it still ended up being one of my favorite games on the system. So it's an action platformer where you have a chain link attack, and you can actually use it as a grappling hook to grab onto higher ledges, and it's one of those games where you lose your armor, you go down to your underwear, if you get hit again, you die. But unlike Ghosts and Goblins, this game is actually fun. And of course, I love the way this game looks, really great art style here, and the music is pretty nice too. There are definitely some really good standout tracks in here, but a lot of it is very atmospheric stuff for the background, which does work well. So yeah, when it comes to a lot of the games that I've reviewed on my channel that I discovered randomly, this one is still one of my many favorites that I discovered. And as for number 5, we have is the Valis series. But which Valis game I'm going to talk about here, because there's 4 of them on the PC Engine CD, and 3 of them I actually really like a lot. But I think for today, I'm going to talk about the remake of the first Valis game, because I think they did a really good job with this remake for that. Not only does it have some great graphics and animation, the music is just really hype and awesome, and the game provides a really good challenge that I really enjoyed doing. Because it's no secret that some of the Valis games can get pretty tough near the end, but weirdly enough, I found that Valis 1 was probably one of the easier ones, but of course keep in mind that just because I say it's easier does not mean it's an easy game, because it's still hard. And as for the other ones, the third game is also pretty great, even though it does have a weird button layout, but despite of that though, it is a very good version of the game, and also I kinda already talked about it within my games on the Genesis, so I didn't want to like talk all about it here again. And then the fourth game is also really good too, and I did really like that version a lot with all the different unique characters that they added in, but I did found that some of the level designs did feel a little bit on the flat side, but despite of that though, it was still a really fun game to play through. And as for 2, well, unfortunately, that's the only version on here that I don't like. I'll be honest, I thought that game was just really frustrating and just didn't play nearly as well. But yeah, 3 out of 4 games on this console I actually really liked a lot, so I'd say that's a pretty good track record. And now, as for number 4, we have is Spriggan. Not to be confused with the manga series, which, by the way, that manga series, so damn good. But yeah, this game has nothing to do with it, unfortunately, but even if it has nothing to do with it, it's still really awesome in its own right. So this game was developed by Compile, and yeah, it definitely looks and feels a lot like their other game, Musha, which is fantastic. So yeah, I would say this is pretty much the PC Engine CD version of a Musha-style game, and I love it. So yeah, I don't need to repeat how much I love how everything looks and sounds, it's all great, but the one unique thing that this game does have is that the power-up system is also very unique within this game for that you have 3 different colors, and you can actually mix and match with different colors, and you'll get some pretty different results, and it's really fun to play with. So if you're going to play one shoot 'em up on this system out of all the ones that I've been talking about, this is definitely one that comes highly recommended for me. And as for number 3, we have is Sapphire, or also known as Genka Fuki Densetsu Sapphire, but we'll just call it Sapphire. I mean, is anyone gonna get confused and think I'm talking about Pokemon Sapphire on the PC Engine CD? I really don't think so, but anyways though, like I said about the game Spriggan, this is another game that if you're gonna play one shoot 'em up on here, this is definitely the other one I can recommend too. And the graphics in this game are insanely good for a PC Engine CD game in 1995. Like, this game could have passed off as a PS1 or Sega Saturn game, because it uses some, like, 3D effects, too, and some really cool animations in the background. It's pretty insane. And the soundtrack is just super heavy metal. I love the shit out of it. It's also, yet again, another all-time favorite PC Engine CD soundtrack of all time. But yes, this is the last shoot 'em up that I'm mentioning on this list, and yep, this and Spriggan are easily my 2 favorites. And as for number 2, we have is Castlevania Rondo of Blood. Yep, it's that one Castlevania game that we never got until many years later. Unless you want to count Dracula X, which is like its own kind of version of this game. But you know, when it comes to this original version, we didn't get it for many years. And yes, as you would expect, I definitely really love this game a lot. It has a lot of badass cutscenes, beautiful graphics, and just a hell of a good OST. And I also think it's interesting that you can play the game as Richter, or you can play the game as Maria, and they both play very differently, and while playing as Maria is a lot easier for that you get a double jump and you can shoot stuff a lot easier, but even using her, I still find this game is pretty damn challenging, but as I keep saying, it's a good type of challenging. Yeah, I don't know what else I can say about it, as I do feel like that out of the classic-style Castlevania games, this one is considered to be one of the best. And while I wouldn't consider it to be my number 1 favorite classic-style Castlevania game, it's probably number 2 for me, which is still very high praise. Now, before we get to the number 1 spot, let's mention some honorable mentions, and as always, I can't mention everything because you wanna know how many games are on both these PC Engine and the CD? Okay, well maybe there's not like as many as the PS1, but there's still like more than enough that it would take forever to go through every single one of them. But anyways, let's just get right to it. So there's Devil's Crush, Jackie Chan Action Kung Fu, Ordyne, Samurai Ghost, War of the Dead, Hellfire S, Lords of Thunder, although I mainly play it on Sega CD, but the PC Engine CD version is pretty good too, Mad Stalker Full Metal Force, Mystic Formula, and finally I'll mention is Tengai Makio Zierra, which got fan translated recently. I'll be honest, I haven't really played much of it, but I did play the beginning part of it, and I can say it left a good impression. So let's get moving on to the number one spot, and that is one of the East games. Yes, I'm using this as one of my East spots. So which game am I going to mention here? Well, this might be a surprising one, but I'm actually going to pick the third one. Yeah, that might surprise some people, because the third one, in a lot of ways, is like Zelda 2, in the sense that not only is it a side-scrolling game where the main other games are not, but also, for the longest time, it was considered to be the black sheep of the series, but, well, what can I say? I really love this game a lot. But before we talk about that, let's talk about the other two first. So, you got East Book 1 and 2, which is pretty much one game in itself, and I did replay a part of it recently just for this video, and yeah, I can say that game still holds up really well. It's actually a really good game. The only thing that may or may not work for you is the way how you attack in the game. For that, you don't freely swing your sword, instead you just bump into the enemies. Now personally, I don't mind that style of gameplay, but I will admit and say that I do prefer being able to swing my sword freely, but like I said, I don't mind going back to it when I'm in the right mood for it. So yes, Book 1 and 2, still very good games and are still very impressive to this day. And as for East 4, Dawn of East, well, this one I actually played for the first time recently, and I managed to play it long enough to get a good first impression, and I can say that it does seem like a good game, and I had fun with it, but I wish they didn't go back to the bumping mechanic to attack things. I wish they would have went with the third game where you can freely attack, but in this case it would be top-down view. And yes, I am aware that this game was not actually developed by Neon Falcom themselves, because they actually outsourced the game, and this version was developed by Hudson Soft. And like I said, it is a cool version of the game, I definitely do like it. And I do plan on playing through the whole game at some point, but yeah, I just kinda wish they would have elevated the series more forward, because after that, they eventually started to do the whole attacking freely. So anyways, with all that said, all these games are good, but the third game will always be my favorite out of the PC Engine games. So as I keep saying, the attacking in this game is just very fun and satisfying to just kill a whole bunch of enemies and racking up EXP and gold. In fact, the grinding in this game is actually fun. Yeah, that's something that you can't say about a lot of RPGs. So part of the reason why I like the grinding in this game is that not only is the combat fun, but also the music in this game is just so freaking awesome that it definitely helps with being able to just redo the same thing over and over again, because you just never get tired of the music. And well, yeah, that's the other thing too. The music in every single East game on the PC Engine is just fantastic. And another thing I was kind of surprised by too is that there's barely any puzzles within this game too. I thought that was actually kind of nice. I kind of like that there wasn't very many of them. Also, the length of this game was perfect for me, because it doesn't feel too short, and it doesn't feel overly long and overstays its welcome. I actually think it's a good length. So yeah, if you're gonna play the original version of East 3 when it was a side-scrolling game, I'd say this is definitely the best version of it. Definitely way better than the Super Nintendo and the Genesis versions by a long shot. And I can gush on more about it, but yeah, we'd be here forever. So anyways, with that being said, that takes care of my list of the top 30 favorite game recommendations on the PC Engine and TurboGrafx and the CD add-on and all that fun stuff. And yes, it is a console that I definitely wish I could play more games on, for that there is a lot of really cool and interesting looking games that never got released over here that don't have fan translations yet. So maybe once some of those actually do get made, I can see myself going back to this and actually doing a whole update to that, but that probably won't be for a very long time. But yes, as always, what are some of your favorite games that you've played on the TurboGrafx 16, or the PC Engine, or the CD, or whatever which one you prefer calling it? And as for next time, yep, I'm going to be talking about my top 30 favorite Super Nintendo games, and hopefully it won't take too long for it to come out, but we shall see when we get there. So anyways, with that being said, thanks for watching and commenting, and have yourselves a great day.